Happy Labor Day, friends.
Happy Labor Day, people.
And
You probably
happy.
noticed that he didn't change his shirt in a week.
He's still in that same shirt you were in last week. It's still Saturday in our world.
Yes, y'all.
But
We
for
just
you,
went out to the future.
it is
We're learning how to fold
September,
time and play with time.
September 5th.
Yeah. Wow. Where did August go? Holiday's over. Sorry for you guys.
It got washed away in the floodwaters in the Midwest, is where it went over here.
Is it still raining there?
No, it just fucking flooded. And I spent weeks cleaning up
Oh
after
yeah,
that shit.
yeah,
It's still not done. My basement's still a hot mess.
yeah, yeah.
And maybe by the time this airs, I have a car.
Yes, you will be. You'll have a Japanese German car.
I'm so mad at you, John Ashford. John wants me to have a red car so bad that the cars that I have been shopping for, which I have never seen in red, let me tell you, are now showing up for sale in red. I was like,
How's it
fucking
going?
John.
Red, little red Corvette,
I
Prince.
will say that the K5 that I showed you,
Yeah,
I saw one with a red interior that I
dope, huh?
might take my ass out to test drive today.
Dope, huh?
The red interior, yes, that
Yeah,
pleases my soul. I have no interest in a red car, but that red interior, that
yeah.
red and black,
But red and black with a red out exterior.
I really don't care for a red car, but I do
Ugh,
like a red interior.
man, you sit in that bitch and you drive. It's like your body goes, "Oh my god, this feels so good."
They're so funny. I don't need any incentive to go any faster.
Huh.
I am driving
So
a Mustang.
anyway, I guess you guys like, what are you guys talking about?
We were talking about rest and how taboo it is in this culture to rest,
Hmm.
and how triple taboo it is if you have the audacity to be melanated and decide your ass wants to rest. How dare you?
See, I you know I guess maybe is it my age? It's a combination of things. I don't give a fuck if my body tired. I'm going to bed. I had some friends over a couple weeks ago, and I knew I had to get up and do a class, and they were there 11 o'clock. I said, "Hey, y'all got to go because I need my beauty rest."
I
And
kicked out somebody that lives in Michigan so I could go to bed.
wow, did they have to drive all the way back to Michigan?
No, he wasn't going home that night.
Oh,
He has family here and he was
okay,
visiting and he like invited himself over
yeah,
and I didn't have the audacity to say no to him. I hadn't seen him in a while.
yeah,
But like after the movie ended at 10 something, I was like, "Listen, you can stay, but I am going to bed. Do you want me to get you some blankets? You can camp
yeah,
out on the couch." He
yeah,
was like, "No, I'm going home."
yeah, yeah. See, some of that, I think that people honoring their bodies. See, when you talk about taboo, when you talk about taboo of rest, I'm like, man, I am so. This is a little bit. This is resting my body and relax. See, rest to me, taking care of my body is resting.
Yes.
On the 13th of August, I had my first pedicure. Well, actually, my second one. I actually had one in New Orleans a long time ago, but I forgot about it, and I forgot how relaxing that shit was. That when she finished, I was like, "Can I sign up for next month?" Because it was stimulating to the soul. And I think that resting, for me, resting has a huge, it's a huge umbrella of a bunch of things that can be in resting. But the first thing that happens is that you have to think that your body is worthy of resting. And I get the taboo of people of color sometimes feeling they should and they can't because of what other people think. Well, I know what I think about that to people's thoughts.
Because of what other people think, but also some of us are so stuck in survival mode
Uh-huh.
that we don't see how we could there was a massive chunk of my life. I was in unstable housing with my kiddos for 5.5 years. And the only rest I got in that time was when my body was like, sit yo ass down. I had I had tension headaches, which my physician at the time said are rare. That people think that they have tension headaches and what they really have is stress headaches. But what I had was actual tension headaches. I was like, oh, look, a rare thing. Look at me being rare.
What does that look like?
Um, so for me, it actually starts with tightness here.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel like I need to like do the thing with the shoulders and I just can't get them to like loosen up, I am in trouble. Like already in trouble. By the time it makes it to my head,
Uh-huh.
it is problematic. It is like a whole ass, I gotta take a muscle relaxer problem. But before I realized that muscle relaxers were an option, before I got the diagnosis and the drugs, um, I would just lay down.
Mm.
So the way I set up my life was that, and my kids were toddlers. They were 2, 4, and 6, 3, 5, and 7. Um, Friday night before I put them to bed, because I knew that I wouldn't function Saturday, I would set them up with all of their breakfast, lunch, and snack and sippy cups, like
Mm-hmm.
all the sippy cups for the day, because I couldn't pick up my head. Because if I picked up my head, it felt like somebody took my head and shook it, and like the inside of my skull hurt.
You need some body processes.
I did. But that was at the worst of it, where like it hurt for my skin to be touched.
Mm.
Like somebody could squeeze me and I would be okay. But if you just walked up to me and like put your hand on my arm like gently,
Mm-hmm.
excruciating, like absolutely painful. And I was like, oh, that's fun, thanks. And my prescription as a single mom with 2 elementary school children and a toddler and no support was to stress less. That's what he
Stress
told me.
less.
He said, reduce your stress.
Yeah. And sometimes, but here's the piece about it. What about that is true, but we can't hear it? Because I just did this money workbook this class this morning. Well, for you guys this morning. Well, Saturday morning.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And we were having a conversation about worthiness and making choices regardless of the outcome for yourself. See, I mean, if y'all know me, I use this analogy over and over and over and over and over again because I want people to get this. Plane's doing this, you're an airplane. Earlier, you had this steward or stewardess show you this, put this on over here, sit back and do like this with it on. But if your monkey ass and the air pressure changed, the window something open, and you don't put it on, your ass gonna be like this. And ain't nobody gonna come help. And that oxygen deprivation might kill your monkey
Everybody's
ass.
passed out.
And everybody in your row gonna be dead if you're trying to put out. So I say this, and people be like, "Oh, well, John, you just saying this." No, motherfucker. If the plane going down and you do that, cancel Christmas. You're not gonna be there. And I'm gonna say this to people over and again because I wish I would have listened to other people. Well, John, you should no, fuck no. You have to take care of you first, parents. Please
Yes.
hear me. You're no good. So I told you about one of my clients' parents a week ago. Remember, I said I went over there, and this sister is at the end of her rope because she refused to do something different with her 6 or 7 kids, and now she is hating life, and nothing seems to be going wrong because she's had 7 kids and stressed out, but She hasn't chosen anything different. And people are like, well, John, well, you don't have the money to do that. Well, if you die, you're going to do something different. But why do you have to wait till you die? And it's because I think that a lot of times it's like the whole thing of rest. 2 weeks ago, I had a class, a body class that I was supposed to do, and I've been packing classes every weekend, and I decided the Friday before I'm not doing that. I'm honoring my body. I'll take a walk. I might do a SOP session, but that's some yumminess that I do. If somebody called me and they want an SOP session and they want to pay me for it, I'll do that because I love doing that. That's relaxing to me.
Yeah. Also, if you haven't had an SOP session with John,
They don't.
do
I'm gonna
yourself
say,
and your system a favor.
yeah. I do them online and in person, and I just like it. And so here's the piece about it. I guess that's the other bringing that up. Rest doesn't have to be that you close your eyes and you go to bed.
Right. So, feel free to hit up the tip jar for what I'm about to give y'all.
Oh shit! Jingle, jingle, jingle.
John talked about how, in the beginning, about how there are different kinds of rest, and Emily and Amelia Nagoski are authors of a book called Burnout. Mm-hmm. And in Burnout, they talk about how our bodies need 10 hours of rest a day. Mm-hmm. And nobody's sleeping for 10 hours but my 16-year-old. Me if I'm sick and I've been fucking around. But all 10 of those hours not only don't have to be sleep, but are not meant to be sleep. You need to complete the stress cycle every day, which means you need to elevate your heart rate for at least 30 minutes. You need to move your body.
Yes.
You need to pretend that you were a gazelle that just got away from that fucking lion who just is always there when you're trying to eat your damn grass. Or like me. So I'm driving a rental. I'm leaving an event, which was really restful for me.
What's that say again? You're leading an event?
Yeah, I went to, okay, so side note for those of you who don't live in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area, our art museum turns into a nightclub once a month.
Oh, wow.
Complete with cash bars, a DJ, the whole shebang.
That's
so it is the art museum and DJ LimeWire.
Wow.
The last Saturday of August was on the turntables. And there were several cash bars and the cafe was open. Like the whole thing was a party. And I haven't been since the last one in 2020 because COVID.
Right.
So I was like, excuse me while I go. And I am on day 2 of my cycle. My uterus is trying to kill me. I did not sleep well last night, but I'm going to this event, goddammit. And I did. And I spent half an hour of it sitting on a bench, people watching, because I got a free ticket to a paid exhibit. And so but it was timed. They were letting people in on a schedule. So I had to wait another half an hour to be able to go into it. So I sat on a bench and then got up and went outside because I wanted to drink my water, which I smuggled in. And so I went outside on the step and drank my water and people watched outside. And then walked through the exhibit and then brought my ass home. But like, that was also rest, even though I was too tired to troop the entire art museum like I always do. But I did get to see some beautiful art, some fun people, listen to some dope music. I even got a free ticket to this exhibit that I would not have paid to go to because I'm a cheap ass. but that was rest for me, and actually was probably more restorative than
Hmm.
if I had laid in my bed. Because let me tell y'all what I do when I lay in my bed. I'm mad that I have teenagers and no co-parent. That's what happens when I lay in my bed. I'm like, fucking teenagers teenaging all over the damn place. Um, but I'm on my way home, and I am getting into the turn lane. There's two turn lanes for my exit.
Hmm.
I'm getting into the turn lane, and I think I have two simultaneous thoughts. One that says, get into this lane so you're not behind that car, and the other that says, stay behind this car. So I'm like driving real slow because I'm coming up to a red light, anyways. And a person coming in front of me is full on in this other turn lane. So if I had been in that lane, they would have hit me head on. 30 minutes from my house at 9 o'clock at night in a rental car. Um, so, I didn't get eaten by the lion.
Absolutely.
But when I got home, I put these on and I hit shuffle on my shaking playlist and I moved that adrenaline through my system. I literally did the gazelle in a bush after getting chased by a lion thing and shook it all off so that I could take my ass to actual sleep last night.
Yeah.
So that's also part of rest. It's bringing my nervous system back to a settled state. Because if something scares you into fight, flight, or freeze, and
Yeah.
you don't reset your nervous system, that stress just stays in your body.
Yeah.
And that's why you have digestive issues and cavities, and why you're short
Heart
tempered,
problems, blood pressure.
heart problems, all the blood pressure issues. Actually, those blood pressure issues are also partially because you have terrible boundaries. I'm just going to say it.
Say more about that.
Um, I'll speak for my family personally, and I will just project that is probably going on in a lot of Black families in America. Um, there's an energy of obligation to things.
Mm,
My
preach.
grandmother was awful to my mother, awful as fuck. To a lot of her children, actually. I wondered why they bothered to visit her once they were adults and have their own homes. I would have been like, deuces, homie. My mother, who was the baby who had it the worst because she was there alone with my grandmother,
Uh-huh.
was the one that went home and took care of her when she had surgery for colon cancer. Why? Because that's my mom. Your mom's fucking mean to you. Do something else with your life. But my family has this, I have to. I have to take care of my mom because she gave birth to me and kept me housed for 17 years or 19 years or however long it was. It was like 19 years. I have to keep track of everybody in my family because nobody else is going to. All of that I have to turned into connective tissue disorders for my mother. Everybody else was more important than my mom was. My
Yep.
mom, anybody that, you know how you go to a funeral and people are like, oh my God, this person was amazing, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. There was not one thing said at my mother's memorial service that was wrong. Not one thing. Ruby would give you the shirt off her back. She will feed you. She will let you sleep on her couch when she lives in a studio apartment because you shouldn't sleep on the street. She's got a place for you. You can sleep on the floor. Somebody else is on the couch. It's fine. But nobody took care of her. And the result of those terrible boundaries was my mom died on 13 medications.
Hmm.
She died of congestive heart failure, pneumonia, and the drugs that she was supposed to be on that her body had gotten accustomed to. They terminated her disability. One of those drugs was $400. Nobody had $400 a month for drugs, for one drug. There were 13 of them. And without those drugs, her body couldn't maintain its electrolyte balance.
Hmm.
My mom worked and worried herself to death.
Mm-hmm.
is the bottom line. And so without good boundaries that says, I am absolutely fucking not about to work this back-breaking job 16 hours a day because you pay me trash. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to figure out something and get a better job or get more money or whatever, whatever. That's what she did. So 8 hours, 16 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours. And that was a schedule that my mom worked for years
And
as a CNA in nursing homes.
man, and it's that, and talking about today being Labor Day, isn't that ironic that people, and I say this, and I don't want to be crass in saying it.
People work themselves to death.
Yes, but they don't choose something different.
Yeah, they don't
Uh,
know that they could choose something different.
yeah. And it's
I
the dog chasing his tail. It's like I can never get out. I can't get. I'm still chasing the same thing over and over again, over again. But I mean, I think it's going to change, but it's my tail. I don't know it's my
But you're
tail.
still making the same choices.
Yeah, and also that's also called insanity.
It is
I want
insanity.
something different, but I'm not going to choose anything different. I'm keep doing the same thing, expecting
And
something different.
I toggled sort of to the other end of the spectrum where I ended up in unstable housing for 5.5 years with my kids because I just refused. Like, I had the opportunity to become a CNA at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that job's murderous. No fucking thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I also wanted my kids to have access to me. And I didn't know how to put myself in the spot that I'm in now,
Mm-hmm.
where I can produce a livelihood and still be accessible to them, like inside the home. So
But yes, you did. It's choice. You chose something different.
I
You
did.
could have choose. You could have chosen that. You said, "I want something different," and that's
Yes.
the magic of it all. And that's talking about rest. Rest is about choosing.
Yes.
You have to be
Yes.
willing to choose to be restful. And
Yes.
rest, like we already gave you examples, rest doesn't have to always be a nap. It can be.
It can be a nap. You need to be getting enough sleep. You need sufficient physical activity. You need to complete the stress cycle every single day. And you need to play.
That
As an adult,
like
as
a
a
kid,
human in a body, you need to play.
like a
And if
kid.
you are at all like me, you don't know what play looks like for you. So I'm going to tell you what play looks like for my boring ass. Where's this book? I'm reading a fantasy novel right now.
Uh-huh.
Play for me is to put something on the Bluetooth speaker, to get in my bed in the cozy spot with the pillows and read that book
Yeah,
with my ringer off.
yeah.
And tell my children that if they talk to me, I'm gonna pretend they don't exist. If nobody's on fire and nobody's bleeding out and everybody's breathing, figure it out. But like that is play for me. Play for me is shooting pool. I'm really bad at it,
I hate
but
it.
I can do it for forever and ever and ever. And because this is not a masterclass on play, if you would like to learn more about play,
Like go
look
to.
up Stuart Brown's Principles of Play. There are 7 of them. There are seven things that make something play. And the reason that I tell you what my boring ass finds is play is because for a really long time, I thought I didn't know how to have fun. But
Mm-hmm.
the reason thought that I didn't know how to have fun is because I was surrounded by people whose idea of fun was different than
Yeah.
my idea of fun. And I judged, like, oh, I don't know what's fun. When, like, no, I just don't find what my peers find fun to be
Mm-hmm.
fun. I don't think drinking a bottle of wine on a Saturday night is fun. However, when I could drink, I will sip out of your glass while we eat food and talk about metaphysics. That's fun for me. I can do that for 7 years.
Yes. Last night, um, I had a friend come by, and we sat and spoke about metaphysical stuff. And it was the first time me meeting Alex's wife. And he didn't say, he said, I didn't tell my wife anything about you because this is the first time we all met. And Tori and the 4 of us sat down and we had so much fun. There was no pretense. I could be 100% me. We could talk about things esoterically, if that's the word I think. But anyway, it was just like, wow, that's my groove. And what I'm saying to people, rest is equated to having fun. If I made a statement, and I decided this, I'm 59. I refuse to do anything else in my life that's not fun. Even if it's a task that needs to be done, I'm actually asking, how can this be fun?
What would make this fun for me?
Yeah, you know, that is a task. I'm demanding things be fun.
Yeah.
And here's the piece about it. I don't need 10 hours of physical sleep anymore. I'm
No.
beginning also, because here's some other weird shit. I always talk about, here's the weird get, okay, brace yourself.
John's weird moment of the show.
I think that bodies are changing. I do a lot of body work. I navigate through a lot of body energy. And I think the bodies are shifting as so the planet is shifting. And I don't think that sometimes what things require, like, here's the piece that I'm beginning to find. When I work from home, I don't need to eat that much. I have to adjust my eating habits when I step out the door compared to being at home. And the big difference of it is that it's not requiring the fuel for, I'm not burning the same type of energy. And so I don't require, and I'm beginning to, like, I went to see my doctor yesterday. He said, "Oh man, you look like you're losing weight." And I was like, yeah. The other piece about it is being restful. This is another thing that I'm beginning to really like, playing with my body. I know what y'all thinking, not masturbating. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like playing with my body, having conversations with it. Like, I had this whim and I went with it. I was like, what does your body want to weigh? And for the longest, it was like 217. And then one day I woke up as 204. And I'm playing with my body. And I know this sounds crazy. And it's so restful, so much peace in it. So the other piece about the taboo of rest is that I think a lot of people don't give themselves the capacity of being peaceful, which I equate with
Mm,
with rest. Real peaceful is, to me, real peaceful is allowing you to be just present. Like sitting in my backyard after I've done something or pulled or whatever I've done, and I just sitting there and being like my feet on the ground, feeling the air on my skin, and just being present with that. It's something so energizing for me. It's energizing, and at the same time, I find myself, and I know I'm not that damn old, like taking the what I call the 10-second cat naps, where I feel the wind, I hear the wind, I smell the fragrance of the flowers, and then I come back and I'm present. If I do that a couple times throughout the day, I'm beginning to find this peaceful spirit of breaking through the taboo of not having rest. And I think that another person I heard say that, it was David Banner was saying that people don't give themselves space to have space with themselves. They just stay busy. And the other culprit that you were talking about is this thing we call the cell phone. I'm beginning to realize, I'm trying to figure out, at not certain nights I'm not going to listen to recordings, because I'm going to turn that phone off, because I don't want that energy in my space. A lot of times I listen to recordings at nights while I'm sleeping and
yeah,
download.
yeah. Remind me to talk to you about that when we're done.
Yeah.
There's a way you can have both.
Oh, okay. So you can show me how to do that. But that's what I'm looking at. It's like letting go of that taboo, because the other thing too that people do, rush and haste. I'm like, nah, that shit does not feel comfortable to me.
It's so we can talk more about that in the future. But the for some nervous systems that is comfortable.
Mm.
I have a friend who is literally medicating herself for anxiety because she refuses to sit still. She can't even like not have the TV on in her house
Mm.
because the silence is too much for her.
Man.
Yeah. So there are some nervous systems that cannot handle peace. Well, that's not true. I guess that is true. There are some nervous systems who are so accustomed to chaos that peace feels unsafe to them.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
And I think David Banner was saying the same thing. And that's like some people are so much more violent and everything because they never really get any downtime,
Yeah.
which is required for the body.
Oh my gosh. I just have to say this out of my mouth because you said David Banner, and I know that we are at time, but you are not turning into a pumpkin today. Not only because it's Saturday, but also because it's Labor Day and you wouldn't be at work anyway. So, um, I have said this forever that everybody is like, oh my God, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids. Like children are worse now than they have ever been, and they're blaming like the permissive millennial parenting generation, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's raising those kids is the problem. Children come from a hospital, home to a stressed out mother. Even if she's not a single parent, she is stressed the fuck out because she is missing what my mom had, which is siblings, cousins, grandparents who are like, don't worry, I got that baby. My mom went out for the first time when I was 2 months old because my aunt was like, bring me the baby. I got her. It's fine. Nobody said that to me, which is why I did not know how hard my mom's life was. But I digress. Um, those babies go from the hospital, from in utero, where they're perfectly fine, or maybe they're floating around in stress hormones in there because mom is stressed out because, oh my God,
Yeah.
a human, and I'm responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 18 years to not break it.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe spend 6 weeks with mom, freaking out because, oh my God, I got to go to work. How am I going to keep this child alive for 18 years? To daycare, where
Trauma.
there can be one adult for every 4 infants. That is not enough humans.
Mm-hmm.
There should be exponentially more adults than there are infants.
But that's we have so many like our crime and stuff with young people and stuff because from day one they're born in a hostile environment.
So you're getting, my kids were in daycare for a max of 4 hours a day while I worked a waitress on purpose for that, so that they were not in daycare from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They were in a home daycare on purpose, and yet every time I walked in the door, my infant is in a swing, but there are empty arms. Put my kid in your arms.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he needs to be. He needs to be being held by a human, not swung by a device.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
anyway.
that's because people have lost like, and I'm gonna close on this because I do have to turn into a pumpkin for something different.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have
but check this out. I think that's because people have lost sight of connection, of the oneness. I have a garden outside, and in my garden, I can feel that I needed to water something yesterday. I didn't, and so I have to go do some dishes after I get done with this, and then I need to go water my garden because people can't connect to understand that that little baby needs to be picked up. They've lost sight of oneness,
Yeah.
and that's also because their nervous system is in shock, and it's in shock because of the taboo of not resting and taking time for self. Most people take, oh, that's selfish. Take time for you.
The
Be
show's not
kind to
complete
you.
until John's flipped you off.
Be kind to you. And you'll find kindness for others easily if you be kind to you.
Absolutely.
Screw the taboo and get some rest, y'all.
Take a nap.
Happy
Blow some
Labor Day.
bubbles.
I hope y'all enjoy your
Eat some
holiday.
barbecue.
Eat some barbecue, whatever you eat, and have fun.
Bye.
Deuces.